The city sat in hushed slumber, the midnight air biting through layers of silence. Streetlights, like watchful sentinels, flickered against damp pavement, casting long, trembling shadows that slithered along empty roads. On a night that seemed ordinary in every way, sudden urgency shattered the calm. Rex, a broad-shouldered German shepherd, burst onto the scene. His paws struck sparks against the asphalt as he sprinted through deserted streets, eyes ablaze with purpose and worry. What had driven him into the chill night? What secret message did his panicked run carry? And why did each heartbeat of the city seem to echo his own? Drawing nearer to the police station, Rex wove deftly between discarded soda cans and stray newspaper pages dancing in the wind. He dodged headlights, skirting close to passing cars as though nothing could slow him until he found the help he so desperately needed. At the station's glass doors, he came to an abrupt halt, nostrils flaring, and unleashed a series of barks, staccato and insistent. Behind the glass, Officer Jake Reynolds was reaching for his keys when the barking sliced through his thoughts. He frowned, strained to dismiss it as background noise, yet when the barks grew louder, urgent, unmistakably pleading, he pushed the door open. What had Rex found? Jake's flashlight beam cut a pale circle through the dark as he followed the dog into the silent streets. Every footstep reverberated against concrete walls, every breath visible in the cold. Rex led with unwavering confidence, turns precise, head low, tail stiff. They slipped into a narrow alley where the stench of damp concrete and rotting trash made the air thick. Under the feeble halo of a distant lamp, a shape slumped against a brick wall came into view. Who was that? What tragedy had forced someone into the shadows on a night like this? As they approached, Jake's heart tensed. A young woman, her clothes stained and threadbare, huddled against the chill, arms wrapped tightly around two tiny forms. Those forms, infants barely larger than loaves of bread, lay cocooned in thin blankets, breath's faint puffs vanishing into the night. Her face was drained of colour, lips cracked like parched earth, eyes closed as though surrendering to despair. Jake's hand hovered uncertainly before gently shaking her shoulder. Her body drifted, ghostly and cold, until, at last, her eyelashes trembled. Was it relief or fear that flickered in her dull eyes? "Ma'am, can you hear me?" Jake asked, voice soft but urgent. The woman's only answer was to clutch her children more fiercely, as if fearing they might vanish. At her side, Rex whined, nose nudging her arm. The dog had been there all along, holding her close against the cold, an unwavering barrier between life and the abyss. Jake peeled off his heavy-duty jacket and wrapped it around the trio, layering warmth over their fragile form. With teeth chattering, he swept the scene into his radio. "Officer Reynolds here. Woman and 2 infants, critical. Alley off 6th Street. Send an ambulance." His words crackled with urgency. Would help arrive before the cold stole their last breaths. Sirens pierced the night, growing nearer with each pounding second. Paramedics leapt from the ambulance, medical bags swinging like lifelines, questions ready on their lips. "What's the situation?" one called out. Breathlessly, Jake described the mother's feeble pulse and the baby's laboured breathing. The paramedic pressed fingers to the woman's neck, nodding grimly. 2 more knelt by the infants, checking for warmth, for hope. All the while, Rex stayed pressed against Emily and the children, gaze unwavering, as though daring anyone else to touch them. Would these strangers do them justice, or had Rex's trust been misplaced? Jake crouched beside the dog, rubbing behind his ears. "They're here to help, buddy," he murmured. Rex's ears flicked back. His body remained tense, heart pounding like a drum. As paramedics wrapped the infants in thermal blankets and lifted Emily onto a stretcher, Rex lunged forward once, nails scraping pavement, before a paramedic blocked him gently. Rex's desperate bark shattered the night. To him, this was no mere hospital trip. It was the only hope for his family. Without hesitation, Jake put a hand on Rex's shoulder. "I'll follow behind," he promised. Instantly, Rex's eyes met his, and in that gaze relief flickered. They sped through dark streets side by side, the ambulance's red and blue beacons dancing over wet pavement, and Jake and Rex shadowing its every turn. At the hospital, fluorescent lights blinded them as they burst through sliding doors. Nurses and doctors moved with crisp urgency, voices taut with life-saving precision. Emily and the infants disappeared behind double doors marked emergency, leaving Rex outside, pacing a tight circle. Every passing figure in scrubs made him whirl, searching for the family he would not abandon. The sterile brightness of the hallway contrasted sharply with the alley's gloom, yet Rex cared nothing for decor. His world existed wherever Emily lay. Hours crawled by in a blur of monitors and muted footsteps. A nurse paused by Rex, smiling kindly. "Is he yours?" she asked. Jake shook his head. "He's theirs." The nurse stroked Rex's fur, and for a moment the dog relaxed, eyelids drooping with hope. But hope was a fragile thing. When the emergency doors swung open and a doctor emerged, Rex leapt up, breath catching in his chest. "How are they?" Jake demanded. The doctor allowed a tired smile. "The babies are stable. They were severely cold and dehydrated, but we've managed to bring them back." Relief thundered through Jake's veins. Rex's tail gave a tentative wag. "Emily is still weak," the doctor added, "but she's responding. She should wake soon." At this, Rex let out a low, relieved whine, settling onto his haunches. Would Emily wait to find her guardian angel still by her side? Dawn crept pale and hopeful across the hospital's windows as the first light of morning seeped in. A soft voice broke the hush. "Rex?" In an instant, the dog's ears shot up, body coiled with anticipation. Jake and Rex sprinted toward the open door. Inside, Emily's eyes fluttered open, confusion giving way to wonder as she saw the familiar figure at the foot of her bed. Could this be real? Rex inched forward, head lowered in reverence, nose touching Emily's trembling hand. "You found help?" she whispered, voice hoarse with tears. Rex exhaled a long, contented sigh and laid his head in her lap. A nurse entered with the now warm infants, placing them gently in bassinets beside Emily. Their cheeks had colour again, their tiny breaths steady. Emily cradled one child, stroking fur and flesh in alternating motions. "You kept us alive," she murmured. In that silent room, a bond stronger than words held them together. But as the haze of relief settled, questions surfaced. Where would they go now? Outside, life marched on, but Emily had lost everything. Home, family, security. Jake lingered in the doorway. "Do you have anywhere to go?" he asked gently. Her eyes clouded. "No," she admitted. "It's just us." The weight of her words settled heavily between them. Rex nudged Emily's hand again, as if to say, "I won't let you face this alone." Jake's jaw set. He would not abandon them. Moments later, Jake called his precinct captain. Shelter for a struggling mother arranged. Temporary housing confirmed. Assistance programs ready to help Emily rebuild. Within the hour, a plan was in motion. Returning to the hospital room, Jake offered Emily a tentative smile. "You don't have to go back out there," he said. She looked at Rex, curled protectively by her side. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. Rex lifted his head and locked eyes with Jake. No words were needed. Days later, the hospital discharged them. Jake arrived to find Rex fast asleep on the floor beside the bassinets, still guarding, even in rest. Emily sat on the bed, cradling one twin, tears glistening in her eyes. "It still doesn't feel real," she murmured, voice quivering. Jake shook his head. "It's real now," he said. A nurse announced that transport was ready. At the word home, something lit within Rex. He rose, stretched, and padded over to Emily, as if answering her unspoken hope. Outside, a car waited. Rex was the first to leap in, staking his spot beside the bassinets. As the engine hummed to life, Emily and her children settled in, hearts buoyed by the promise of safety. Jake stood on the curb, watching them drive away under a brightening sky. In that moment, the silent promise between them spoke volumes. Where Rex led, love and hope would follow. And as the road stretched ahead, so did the new life they would build, together, at last, free from fear.